Good morning, guys. How are we all doing? So Dan from Trading with Dan here. This is our Bitcoin morning update. So if you guys wouldn't mind smashing that like button, and we shall go straight over to those Bitcoin charts. So yeah, we've had a pretty aggressive move down yesterday. Obviously a lot of liquidations, a lot of leverage wiped out in the market. Yeah, crazy wick down. Obviously this is textbook up the staircase, down the elevator shaft, or up the escalator, down the elevator shaft sort of price action. Price always sort of climbs upwards and then dumps more aggressively. Obviously this is somewhat of an aggressive dump, but maybe we have now established the range that we are going to trade in. Maybe this $53,000 level will be the top, and this basically down $42,000 will be the bottom, and we will trade sideways within this range for a bit now after having established what is to be the top. Failing that, we are actually going to lose 52 and then come back down into our lower range, at which point realistically with a high, a low, a lower high, we would be looking for a lower low under 30,000, but that isn't that isn't what I expect to happen. I do think we are basically just going to trade sideways we'll extend this along now. Trade sideways within basically this above this support and below potentially this resistance now. So what I may do is just take the not take it off, but I will just move along this box for this $50,000 level. We'll just move it along to there. We'll just put in a horizontal for the 50,000, because basically what I'm trying to show is basically that this is pretty much probably going to be our major level now. In fact, we'll delete that actually, just because we've got the lines in anyway. That this is probably going to be our sort of range top, and that will be the level that we are trying to ultimately break back above. So yeah, we'll just draw the horizontal, we'll just draw the box in here. So this is what we could be looking at now. We had this lower range, we had the midpoint, and then obviously the upper part of it. So now we may have this upper level, upper resistance level. And then the if I just get this straight, and then the lower level of support, and then pretty much this midpoint around this $46,000 level in. So at the moment I won't I won't fill that box in, but we'll just leave it there for the time being. We'll just extend this along a bit more as well. So yeah, this is what we could be looking at. Obviously bull case scenario, we trade within this and ultimately break back above the upside and continue onwards and upwards. Obviously bear case scenario is pretty obvious, is that we lose this and lose 42,000 and then find ourselves back in this range. Ultimately this range could support price action, especially if we didn't realistically get lower than the midpoint of around 36,000. We could then actually print a nice higher low relative to these lows here, and then continue on upwards to print a higher high relative to this level. There's all sorts of higher lows and lower lows, etc. scenarios playing out at the moment, but for me, as you guys know, I've been talking about it for a while. I basically have been looking for us just to establish a new sideways trading range, because obviously for most of the time markets will just be sideways ranging on medium term time frames. It was looking like we could have a good shot of getting up towards the 58,000, but before we did start to look quite strong holding at these highs, before that was starting to happen, pretty much 52, 53 was actually the most likely level that I was kind of expecting or looking for. So if that is basically how it has played out, then yeah, I mean that is nothing that couldn't necessarily have been predicted. So yeah, this was our previous range. This is our current range. Obviously we have been in it for a while. whilst trying to establish the upside. So I mean, realistically, we only necessarily need to trade up until towards mid to end of October, and then we can make a decision either to the upside or to the downside. But yeah, that just gives us a full month of ranging in here, and at which point we could see some serious lift off in some altcoins, potentially even Ethereum might start to get going. We've had our first full day of net burning or net deflation, so that is obviously good. Not just single blocks of deflation, a full day of deflation. So yeah, things could start to look up some of the alts. Obviously we need to establish we need to establish a low, basically. The market needs to hopefully hold above 42,000, and the market comes to terms with the fact that we are going to hold that and then start to trade sideways to up to look for a high. We could obviously make a lower high relative to this move up, and that potentially wouldn't look good, and this whole formation would then start to look like it's going to turn back down again. But as it stands, I am just looking for sideways in here. So even if we print a lower high, come back down to these lows, bounce off it, move back up, ultimately take out that lower high, and then move onwards and upwards, that is fine. The only real alarm bells start to ring for looking for a lower value trading range is obviously when we do take out, well, pretty much the 41,000 and find ourselves back in this lower range. We'll just extend this along as well. So yeah, that is all realistically we're looking at. These markets, lots of markets will just make aggressive moves to the downside. It had been pretty smooth sailing to the upside for quite a prolonged period of time. So we would do a correction of this magnitude. This is Bitcoin. We know Bitcoin moves in this sort of fashion, moves very aggressively. It lulls you into a sort of low vol stair stepping upwards bullish false sense of security, and then it just basically just whacks all the leverage traders, really. I mean, that's ultimately the people that are getting wrecked here, is the leverage traders. Anyone else still holding, I mean, realistically we're about the same price we were. If you look at yeah, I mean, we're not far off the same price we were basically at the start of September. So we've only when you look at it like that, we've only wiped out 8 days worth of gains. It's only 8 days worth of gains, but yeah, we are trading a bit lower than that now, and then we will probably come and test this level. I don't see. Well, I mean, we could get front run again, but if we do start, I mean, we could, actually, to be honest, if I have to be honest, maybe it's 50-50. We do come down and test this. Maybe this was as low as we get. Maybe we come back a bit lower. People front run it at an even higher level, and then we do start to trade sideways. Ultimately, if we're going to take this, I think the higher likelihood scenario is obviously we put in a bounce. We don't realistically make it above, say. About this area here, so about 50,000, and we don't make it above 50,000, turn back down. At that point, I'll be thinking, okay, we are going to grind down lower and have a decent shot of taking out 42, or even just testing the 42,000, 42,000 properly. But ultimately, this is just the kind of nature of this market. It has moved down aggressively. That is pretty scary. But you just have to look at the fact we have just been looking to establish a new sideways trading range. Looks pretty much like this is the top of it. So it looks pretty much like well, it doesn't look like this is necessarily going to be the bottom, but this could be the bottom. This is a good candidate for the bottom. We just need price action to confirm that, and then once it does confirm that, I think the sideways and upwards potentially, or just sideways within this range. It would have to be upwards, obviously, from a low level, but yeah, sideways to upwards within here, and then yeah, I mean, we just digest this move, we just trundle along. Obviously, there was a catalyst for this with the Coinbase guy saying that the SEC was going to investigate them or what have you. There's all that was the trigger, but ultimately you can. The news basically isn't realistically the be all and end all. The charts are basically there's a saying, isn't there? You show me the charts and I'll tell you the news. Ethereum, let's have a look at the USD pairing for Ethereum. Actually, we're on the wrong one here. Let's have a look first actually at the Satoshi pairing. The Satoshi pairing not looking obviously as bad. We've got this level here, this area, this level. We have kind of wicked down towards this sort of level area. Currently brought back up, but realistically we do need to make our way back above this this horizontal. I mean, clearly the context, we've got low, high, low, high. I mean, obviously we've got low, high, higher, low, higher, high, and now we're going to print a nice higher low anywhere around here. Is this going to be the low of this move? And then yeah, and then realistically we were looking for high, so not looking too bad there. The Ethereum USD parent has just come back down into a previous area of lots, basically high value node, lots of price action here. So we'd expect support here, and ultimately, if we do turn back up, take out these levels, realistically back above 3,400, which is an important level anyway. Then yeah, and realistically we can just look for just continuation upwards to new highs. So things are not bad yet. They obviously could turn out to be bad, but they currently is not looking too bad. Bitcoin dominance even itself is not no real screaming alarm bells here. If the bull run was over, then you would probably expect a bit more damage to this, but yeah. And then if we do also want to go and have a look at that good old DXY, it has confirmed a local low down here, so it has confirmed a higher low. So realistically that now puts new risk. When we were below here, we were looking at like a potential move down, and that was looking likely, but basically finding our way back above this support here now just fully confirm this is a high low, and realistically then we have to be looking to more upside. Do we make a high? It is on the cards. It's certainly on the cards. That is obviously going to put a scare into risk assets and further exacerbate what is going on. I mean, let's face it, this move in the DXY, which is pretty important, like I've said, confirms the fact that this is a low here in this wider trend, and it isn't unreasonable to target, well, higher prices, certainly not unreasonable, but a lot higher prices and higher highs on that basis for Bitcoin to take a sell-off is obviously was obviously on the cards, and this move in the DXY has obviously zero to do with the Coinbase SEC news. So this is obviously is important. And yeah, I mean, this could obviously have triggered a move down in BTC. Obviously, the actual pulling of the trigger was potentially the SEC stuff, but this was obviously the gunpowder that did then propel that move down, because obviously we could be looking at higher levels for the DXY now. Yeah, now it has broken above this important level pretty aggressively and held this low. So obviously we could just trade sideways in here, turn back down and come back down. Is a likely scenario, but either way, what is on the cards is 94 in this asset now. So yeah, there we go. What else do we want to look at? Stock markets, as you can see, had a bit of a pullback, but yeah, a bit of a pullback, but not looking too damaging at the moment. We've certainly had bigger pullbacks, but yeah, I mean, this is not looking bad. I mean, it doesn't look bad until it does, but at the moment it doesn't look too bad. What else? Anything else? 10 years not really doing a lot. It's looking like it's printing an ascending triangle, but obviously the 10-year yield breaking up is an indication of risk on. Obviously the yield going down is an indication of risk off, but also it is an indication of inflation, which is not good for lots of things, but isn't bad for Bitcoin and other commodities. So yes, let's also have a quick look at gold. Gold was suffering a bit here from this move, but as you can see, is just in this sideways trading range, so not too much to see there. So realistically, the important takeaway here is the DXY is looking like a certain increased risk of upside, whereas that wasn't present literally a couple of days ago. So that is what has clearly, that is clearly, for me, in my mind, had an impact on this market. Obviously, the trigger being Coinbase, but yeah. So let's have a look at stochastics. I'm sure some of them are getting pretty trolleyed here, but yeah, 4 hour coming down, potentially getting down to a trend line here, but I don't know how much I'd look into a 4 hour stochastic to predict any real movement in this sort of an aggressive downward move. But yeah, I mean, potentially could get a bounce here based off the 4 hour. 10 hour coming down, got plenty of room to run. I mean, even if we looked at a trend line down here, still got room to run. 12 hour pointing down, daily pointing down as well. 2-day pointing down. These are obviously pointing down with lots of room to run. So also weekly still pointing up though, bi-weekly still pointing up, monthly just doing its thing. But yeah, but obviously note we were talking about potential a weekly the TD9 on the weekly, potentially forecasting we were going to trade sideways to downs, and maybe that I can't say the TD9 has been front round because I've just shown you obviously DXY has made a move and the SEC have made a move, and that has triggered this move. But obviously we're potentially looking for a sideways trading for a 1 to 4 weeks realistically, so maybe up to a month. That was on the cards in the near future. So yeah, maybe we've just front ran that a little bit, and yeah, I mean, if we look at it here, you can kind of see the level a bit more clearly. We broke up here, we tested sort of down there, and are we just going to trade sideways, digest price action in here for like I said, a month or so? And then break on upwards. We shall see. Or do we break downwards and then we'll have a very clear higher low, and then I mean, like I said, you gotta realistically target a lower low. I would potentially think if this is the high, this is the local high, I would potentially look for a descending triangle to form on this larger time frame. Maybe plays out towards towards the start of next year before breaking down from 30k if we are to be bearish, and this is to be a local high. But like I said, I don't think that is the case. I just think that we had a ridiculously aggressive move up from 10,000 to 60,000. We had a ridiculously aggressive pull down. We obviously held the low down here, made I won't say ridiculously aggressive, but a pretty aggressive move back up, and now we need to digest that before potentially making another move back up. Obviously, ever the optimist. So yeah, there we go. Not too much else to say there, realistically. Also one other thing, providing we don't lose 41, 42, providing we don't come down here then take out this low, for me personally, providing we don't do those things, all this does is just basically just increases the time that we will be in this bull market, which is a good thing for me. As you guys do know, I do like a lot of farming and staking and things, so just time within this bull market and an extended time just equals more coins, equals more profit. So for me, like I said, as long as we do trade sideways, do continue move upwards, do stay in this bull run, the actual increase of the length of time that we do and can be seen as a positive, can be useful, can be your friend, can be profited from. So yeah, you go. That is it, guys. Remember, this is not a financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Always do your own research, and I shall speak to you guys soon.